Hello, my name is RJ Hinode, and this is an in-depth showcase of my Live2D model. This model was designed for VTube Studio with AR-kit tracking. While creating this model, I did my best to imitate 3D form. This model also has a wide range of motion, as the body will track with the angle and position of the head. It was definitely my most challenging model to date, due to the insane amount of features included in it. Without further ado, let's start showing them off! By far my model's most notable feature is her jacket. In my original design for this character, I only planned on giving her a half-zipped jacket, like what you see now. However, after creating concept art with the jacket fully zipped, I ended up really liking the design and decided I wouldn't compromise. The end result is this. Something that was very important to me when designing this jacket toggle was a believable transition between the different forms. It would have been much easier to simply have the forms fade in and out of each other as a transition. But I thought it was important as a virtual streamer to emphasize immersion. Thus, I produced this clean transition. And since I already had two forms for this jacket, it only took a couple more parts to create this fully unzipped version as well. This wasn't in my original plan, but I really like how this form looks too. Another smaller feature of this jacket are the holographic pockets. It's fairly subtle, but I used some clipping masks to give off the illusion of reflected light. I can also fully remove the jacket, although I opted out of making a clean transition for this one and instead simply went with an opacity toggle. I figured a clean animation of removing a jacket would be a bit more trouble than it's worth. Here's a simple but notable selling point of this model. My headphones are pretty unique, as you can see by the LED strip on the side that scrolls through a variety of colors. However, the main feature are the audio visualizers on either side. Thanks to VTube Studio's unique parameter inputs, I've tied them to my microphone volume, so the visualizers match up with my speaking volume. It's a fairly simple addition to the model, but it adds a lot of character, so I still think it's worth mentioning. Let's talk about the most challenging aspect of this model by far. Something that was very important to me in the making of this model was the personalization of it. And something I've done very often on stream is play Melodica. On the surface, this may seem like a fairly simple arm toggle, and for the most part it is. However, there's a lot more to it once you dig below the surface. My original intent with this feature was much more elaborate. As you can see, each wacky of the Melodica can be pressed down, and the right hand itself can actually play the keys. The process of getting the fingers to play the correct notes individually and together was a very tricky task, but it's a bit difficult to explain simply, so instead I'll just let you enjoy the resulting product. As you may have already guessed, my original intent with this feature was to rig it for hand tracking, which is why I have the arm textures relating to the toggle under one rotation deformer rather than under their respective arm deformers. Unfortunately, the results were not what I'd hoped. There are several things I'm sure I could have done differently, but the main limitation falls to VTube Studio's hand tracking itself. As of now, it's still considered an experimental feature, but if it continues in its development and becomes more fine-tuned, I'd love to take a second shot at rigging a playable Melodica. Ultimately, I consider this feature a failure, but I still learned a lot and I'm happy knowing I have all the parts I need if the hand tracking improves in the future. This one's a bit goofy, but I also like to beatbox a lot on stream. On a technical level, it's fairly simple, but it's still a key feature on this model and one of its charm points. A couple things I can note about this toggle are the shoulder warp and the movement of the hand tracking the face, which both took a decent amount of effort. Each individual feature of this model took its own amount of effort and engineering. However, one of the trickiest parts of this model was getting all the features working seamlessly together. Once all the parts were working on their own, I had to go back through every other part to make sure all the transitions were smooth with any number of toggle combinations. If you take all the combinations of toggles into account, this model actually has 12 silhouettes. I had to make sure I could toggle the Melodica with the unzipped jacket and the half-zip jacket, and the shoulder for the Beatbox Toggle still shifted whether the jacket was on or off, etc. It was a lot of hard work, but I managed to pull it off, and I'm very proud of the result. I've mentioned this previously, but the most important aspect of model making for me is personalization, which I feel is a bit untapped. I don't see very much of this in the streamers that I watch, which I feel is a wasted opportunity. I think the options a virtual model provides can greatly enhance a viewer's experience, especially if the model itself becomes part of the show. The customization possibilities are endless, And finding and creating features that encompass a part of who you are and what you do is so inspiring to see, and a fantastic way to close the gap between the model and yourself. I hope this video has enlightened you on what goes into a VTuber model, or inspired you to make your own models suited for your content. Thanks for watching!